In the heart of a bustling city, Amina arrived with nothing but a small suitcase and a dream: to speak English fluently. She had studied the language in her home country, memorized rules of grammar, and scrawled vocabulary flashcards late into the night. Yet, when she stepped off the airplane and heard the swirl of conversations around her, taxi drivers chatting, baristas asking questions, neighbors exchanging greetings, her confidence wavered. The words she had so carefully stored in her mind seemed to scatter like autumn leaves in the wind. Determined not to let fear hold her back, Amina embarked on a journey that would transform her from a hesitant speaker into a confident communicator. Each morning, before the sun had fully risen, Amina rose from her bed and began her English hour. She brewed a cup of coffee, settled by the window, and pressed play on a podcast designed for advanced learners. As she listened, she jotted down idioms: hit the ground running, break the ice, spill the beans, in a little notebook she carried everywhere. But she did more than copy definitions. She crafted original sentences, weaving each new phrase into context that mattered to her. By the time steam curled from her mug, she had already immersed herself in authentic language and sharpened her note-taking skills. This daily ritual taught her one of the most important lessons of language learning: consistent, focused practice beats occasional marathon sessions. On her commute to the local community center, Amina put another tool into practice: shadowing. She loaded short speeches by public figures onto her phone, TED Talks, news reports, inspiring commencement addresses, and played them in 30-second segments. She hit pause, mimicked the speaker's rhythm and intonation, then played the segment again to compare. At first, her voice stumbled over unfamiliar sounds. Her lilt was hesitant. But by repeating this exercise, she internalized natural cadences. The technique also taught her to listen more attentively, tuning her ears to the subtle rises and falls that distinguish a native speaker's voice. Inside the community center, Amina discovered a small but spirited language exchange club. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, she sat around a round table with people from Mexico, China, Poland, and beyond. For the first half hour, they practiced English. For the second, they switched to Spanish, Mandarin, or Polish, depending on the conversation. At first, Amina felt self-conscious as her tongue tangled around unfamiliar pronunciations. Yet, as she listened to her partner's struggles in English, empathy replaced embarrassment. She realized that mistakes were a universal part of learning. Each mispronounced word or forgotten past tense sparked laughter and camaraderie, building both her vocabulary and her confidence. Outside the classroom setting, Amina adopted the habit of thinking in English. When she went grocery shopping, she mentally narrated her actions. "I'm picking up a carton of milk. These avocados look ripe." She described strangers' outfits, the weather, even her own emotions in English. This mental rehearsal turned everyday moments into speaking practice. Over time, the act of translating her thoughts into English became second nature, reducing the lag between idea and expression. She also began journaling in English each night, writing about her day, her challenges, and her small victories. This reflective practice solidified her grasp of grammar and vocabulary far more effectively than rote drills. One Saturday morning, Amina spotted a poster advertising a local Toastmasters club meeting. Nervous but intrigued, she signed up to give a 2-minute speech on her first visit. Her palms sweated as she waited at the podium, but she placed her note cards on the lectern and began to speak. She told the audience about the power of language to connect worlds, about her grandmother teaching her the alphabet by candlelight. After her speech, the club president offered gentle feedback. "Your story was engaging, but try to maintain eye contact more." Each suggestion was specific, actionable, and kind. This structured environment, complete with timers, evaluation sessions, and supportive listeners, pushed Amina to refine her delivery, organize her thoughts, and manage her nerves. As weeks turned into months, Amina realized that fluency was not a single endpoint but a dynamic process. She defined her own micro-goals: mastering 10 new phrasal verbs each week, understanding an entire song's lyrics, or having a 10-minute conversation without switching back to her native language. Each victory, no matter how small, fueled her motivation. When she met her goal, she celebrated, dancing to an English pop song at home, sharing her success with her language partners, or treating herself to a novel in English. These rewards kept the journey joyful rather than burdensome. Recognizing that vocabulary was the building block of expression, Amina employed the spaced repetition technique. She used an app that reminded her to review words at optimal intervals: 1 day later, 1 week later, 1 month later. But she personalized it. She wrote down the most useful words on colorful sticky notes: improvise, nuance, perspective, and stuck them around her apartment, on the bathroom mirror, on the fridge, even on her laptop. Each glance acted as a tiny lesson, cementing the words in her memory. Immersion extended beyond flashcards and apps. Amina built an English-only corner in her home, a cozy nook with a plush armchair, a stack of novels, magazines, and a small record player loaded with classic audiobooks. Whenever she sat there, she enforced a strict rule: think, read, and speak only in English. Her mind protested at first. "But I want to read poetry in my mother tongue." Yet this dedicated space became her linguistic laboratory, a place where she could experiment without inhibition. Her social circle also evolved. At a local coffee shop, she became friends with John, an American expatriate who shared her passion for languages. He was learning Korean. Over steaming lattes, they exchanged tips. He taught her to emphasize consonant clusters, strengths, sixths, while she introduced him to Khmer idioms. They organized language dates, where half the evening was spent conversing in English and half in Khmer. These informal exchanges reminded Amina that language is a living, breathing bridge between cultures. One rainy afternoon, Amina faced a daunting challenge. Her company announced a presentation in front of international clients, all in English. Panic surged through her as she imagined stumbling over key points. But rather than surrendering to fear, she broke the task into manageable steps. First, she drafted her speech in bullet points. Then she expanded each bullet into full sentences, ensuring clarity and flow. Next, she rehearsed in front of her mirror, timing herself and adjusting her pacing. Finally, she invited John and two language partners to watch her practice. Their constructive critiques: "Slow down here. Try a rhetorical question," refined her delivery. When presentation day arrived, she stepped onto the stage with a steady breath and delivered her talk with poise. The clients applauded. Her boss smiled. In that moment, Amina understood that fluency isn't about perfection, but about preparation and courage. Beyond structured exercises, Amina cultivated joy in the language. She watched sitcoms not to obsess over every word, but to laugh at the jokes, to mimic Chandler's sarcastic tone or Leslie Knope's exuberance. She joined an improvised theater group that required her to think on her feet. These playful activities sharpened her spontaneity, freeing her from overthinking and allowing her to trust her instincts. As her confidence grew, so did her curiosity. She devoured English language newspapers, comparing reporting styles, objective in The Economist, conversational in BuzzFeed. She subscribed to newsletters about topics she loved: astronomy, culinary arts, sustainable design, transforming reading into a passion-driven habit. When encountering unfamiliar jargon, she highlighted it, investigated definitions, and discussed the concepts with her language exchange partners. This thematic learning enriched her vocabulary with words that mattered personally, ensuring retention through genuine interest. Amina also learned to embrace the discomfort of stretch tasks, assignments slightly beyond her current ability. She volunteered to lead a community workshop on intercultural communication, co-designed entirely in English. The workshop required her to draft handouts, facilitate discussions, and field spontaneous questions. Though daunting, the experience sharpened her adaptability and honed her active listening. She discovered that fluency isn't just about speaking, but about engaging in real-time exchanges, interpreting cues, asking clarifying questions, and expressing empathy. Over time, the little notebook that once held daunting lists of idioms became a testament to her progress. It bulged with pages of sample dialogues, reflections on mistakes, and notes on pronunciation quirks. She reread her earliest entries and smiled at the confidence she once lacked. Words that had sounded impossible, articulate, effervescent, quintessential, now rolled smoothly off her tongue. One evening, as she walked home under a sky painted with streaks of orange and purple, Amina realized she no longer felt like an outsider in this English-speaking city. Conversations with neighbors felt effortless. Ordering dinner at a new restaurant was simply a pleasure. Even small talk at the post office elicited genuine smiles instead of polite nods. Her world had expanded, new friendships, new opportunities, and a deeper sense of belonging. In the end, Amina's story is not just about reaching a destination of fluency, but about the journey itself. By weaving daily habits, podcast listening, shadowing, journaling, into her routine, by seeking feedback through language exchanges and Toastmasters, by immersing herself in authentic contexts and embracing stretch tasks, She transformed her relationship with English from one of apprehension to one of delight. Her advice to any learner is simple. Set consistent, meaningful goals. Practice regularly in real-world situations. Seek communities of support. And above all, embrace mistakes as stepping stones. Fluency is not a mythic prize but a lived experience, built one intentional conversation at a time.